So welcome to the lounge. Today we are reviewing our 3 heat management systems that we have here. I'd like to first introduce you to the Apple. The Apple is the first heat management system that we ever got, and it was a pretty ingenious idea when we first saw it. So let me show you how it works. If it gets too hot, you simply move the lever and it cools it down.
But as you can tell, it is completely encased. See how the coals are going to be inside here and in this bowl, completely encased when you close it.
Now the pros of this is it holds heat pretty well. We usually do 2 to 3 coals in it depending on the shisha that we're using. You can carry it.
That's always a plus.
Which is great because when you have the hot coals in it, it does get a little hot on the lever, but it's not too bad. So that's a really big plus, I think, of it. It's a little hard to clean with the tarnish that happens from the heat.
But you do set it on tin foil. You do still have to use tin foil on your bowl so the bottom stays nice and clean. I mean, as you can see here, I'm just going to flip this over. The bottom doesn't have any shisha residue or anything like that. Yeah, it's got some burn, but that's because it's a heat management system. So, you know, it is going to get a little of that on it.
So next I'd like to look at the Shisha heat management system. And this was, again, another great invention by Shisha that we were totally in love with in the beginning. This raises up, it comes down, and then it locks. And you can carry it around with your coals in it.
Right, and as you can tell, while locked, it does have openings, so when you turn it, you know, you can open and close it more. You can see the airflow on the sides, and on the bottom, just like the Apple, it does have the little holes for airflow. So you have airflow through here, airflow through the side. You can get more airflow by opening it up, and then you can see it from the top. You can still get the airflow in these little circles. And in this side here, you get the airflow.
Now, some of the cons of this is it's not, depending on what surface you're twisting it on, it's not very easy to lock it and unlock it. As you can see on this surface, it just moves with it. Mm-hmm. It doesn't have complete coverage when it is not locked, when you're amplifying the heat.
Unlike this, that is completely covered, and if you look at this one, which we'll talk about in a minute, this one also can be almost completely covered. This one has very large spots.
Yes. This also sits in the shisha itself. You do not need any tinfoil for it, which is great. You save money on tinfoil, not that it's very expensive, but it is definitely a plus. It makes cleanup a lot harder though. As you can see, we have a lot of scratches on our heat management device from our attempts to clean it and chisel off some of the shisha.
Also, this is kind of thick, so it takes a good 3 coals and quite a bit of time to heat up in comparison with the Apple. The Apple heats up fairly quickly. You can start smoking right away, but this you need to let this one sit on your shisha for a bit so that it can just kind of absorb the heat and transfer it.
Yeah, and precisely it's between 3 and 5 minutes, which gives you a really nice good smoke with the Shisha heat management device. So I'd also like to take a look at the Kaloud Lotus, which is my current favorite. The downsides of this is it doesn't have a lever or any kind of way to lift the entire device up while you have coals in it. So this is nice because it closes all the way to manage the heat properly. You can open it up or simply take the lid off if it gets too hot. And it's really easy. It doesn't get stuck, unlike the Shisha heat management device. This in particular, because of the heat and the way science works.
The metal flex is causing it to be a little tighter sometimes.
Yeah, so it makes it a bit harder to actually take off the top of it.
Now with this one, what we discovered worked really well is you can get a pair of your tongs for picking up your coals, slide it in the side, and you can pick it up like this. So that works well when you're trying to move it off of the shisha, and it works well for, you know, taking care of it so you don't burn yourself.
Now the thing I like about this is that it has the rivets down here to sink into the shisha and penetrate with heat while still leaving airflow in the bottom. It doesn't have as many holes as this does.
But as you can tell, they are longer and around the sides.
So let's do a comparison.
This bowl is, or this heat management system is obviously deeper than this one. This one's a little bit shallower. This one's also quite a bit thinner and takes half the heat, I would say, that this one takes to get your shisha nice and hot. But these little rivets popped into the shisha actually are super conductive and really helpful to get the heat all penetrated down inside of it. As you can see, it also has airflow on the sides where the air can come in through the side of the heat management system.
And they're fairly long, so you get a lot of really good airflow to manage the heat. And again, this just pops on and off really easily, and I like the texture of it. The texture is a bit hard to clean, as we've discovered.
Yes.
But I love the texture of it because it matches so well with my Shisha Bucks mini hookah. So this right now, even though it is a bit harder to carry around, is my current favorite just because you're using less coals. The heat management is a lot easier to use than these two. And
you can switch out the coals in this one easier just because you can lift it off and set it on. It does get quite hot, obviously, because it is a heat management system, and you know, metal and heat makes things burny, so you got to be careful. But as you can tell, it keeps the coals off the bottom here for the most part, so they can burn nicely, which is nice.
And again, the airflow is really important to manage the heat and keep it nice and hot. So these rivets up here are really great for that.
Yeah, they are really great for that.
So right now, I would probably give this a 4-star, maybe a 4.5, and a 5-star.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. I like them all. They're all really good. This, again, I have to agree, is my current favorite. I just like the way that it sits, the way that it sits in the shisha, the way that it heats it up. Not saying that either one of these is not good, because they're definitely a 4.5, or 4.5, definitely. But I'm definitely liking this one the best.
Yeah, and I'm in agreement with that. Like, these by no means are bad heat management systems. They're just not my current favorite. I'd have to say that this is my current favorite just because of the amount of coal you use, the amount of heat you get off of it, and the amount of time it takes to heat up the shisha is very minimal. Again, this is something that sits in the shisha, so you will get shisha residue on top of it, and it will burn, and it is hard to clean. That's with both of these. These are both very hard to clean, whereas this one is not, because you're not putting it directly into the shisha. You're putting it on top of foil.
Yeah, it makes it very easy to clean.
So that's the pluses and minuses of our 3 heat management systems, and thank you for joining us, and we hope to see you next time.